Today I'm more or less with the business side of things and how that works, at least for this panel. So let's just run through from my left introductions of the panelists.
Okay, my name is John Slade. I'm from Elastic Artists. That's a booking agency in London that I set up about 8 years ago. I'm no longer an agent myself, but I worked as an agent for about 10 years up until 2 years ago when I decided to stop representing artists and focus on running the company. We have 8 booking agents in our office. We also employ 6 assistants and 2 people in our accounting department. We look after about 300 artists. Roughly half of those are DJs and the other half are live bands. And of those, about half are from the UK, about a quarter are from the United States, and the rest are from all around the world. And we look after artists from Australia, from New Zealand, from Japan, from Brazil, and some from some countries in Europe. Some from East Europe, mostly from Western Europe. We generally represent all of our artists exclusively, which means that we're the only booking agents that represent those clients, but we don't work in North America. In the agency world, most international touring artists have one agent in America that looks after Canada, North America, and mostly South and Central America. And then you have another agent in London who generally books Europe and the rest of the world. So we're doing shows in Africa, we do shows in Australasia, we do shows in the Far East, we do shows in Russia and Eastern Europe, in UK and in Western Europe, and we do some work in South America. So that's me.
I run 3 festivals. One is an eclectic mix of dance music to folk to indie, 30,000 capacity in London in its fifth year. An underage festival which is 13 to 17 year olds, more of an urban pop indie type festival, and more of a family run festival which is in its first year. This year was the first year. And then I also promote bands across mainly London, but outside of London as well. And then I'm also the agent for an artist called Fortec, which is an electronic musician.
I'm Dave Bhatia. I manage an Indian electronic live act and handle their India bookings, called Jalebi Carter as well.
Hi, I'm Sohail and I run a booking agency called Grunk, and we work in 2 ways. Mainly represent a few acts exclusively in India and Asia even, and the other way we work with a lot of venues and we handle their programming and give them consultancy.
Okay, so the first thing that I'd like to go through is this concept of exclusive booking, which doesn't really exist in India. For you, John, just to run us through how, as a booking agent, when you say you exclusively book an artist, what is your commitment to the artist, and do you have a minimum guarantee that you give the artist, say, because you're exclusive with us, we will give you this much of booking in a year or in a season or whatever? Is there something like that, Rich?
So I think one of the important things to remember about the agency world, certainly in Europe, I can't speak for North America, but I understand it's the same, that when you talk about exclusivity, that's like an understanding, like a handshake, but there's no contracts. And the general understanding is that any artist can leave an agent at a second's notice, and any agent can leave an artist at a second's notice. But for as long as the understanding remains, then the expectation on the part of the agent is that any promoter that wants to book that particular artist will either come to the agent directly or will be referred to the agent either via the management or the label or through a website or something. Now, obviously, when you start out in the agency business, what often tends to happen, particularly with younger acts and younger agents, is that, you know, even if you've got an understanding with your artist that says that there's exclusivity, you occasionally find that bands will have a friend that they know, or somebody's contacted them via their label, and they might take the view that because the agent didn't necessarily create the lead, that they needn't necessarily put the booking through the agent. And that's one of the things which a professional agency would always insist never happens. So, you know, in general we charge 10% commission. Some artists, particularly for DJs who don't have management and who don't have tour managers and who are generally dealing with their own affairs in terms of getting themselves to gigs, we might charge 15% commission, and for that additional 5% we will book flights, arrange hotels, do more kind of production, or prepare an itinerary or something like this.
So Sohail, if you had to contrast that with what happens in India, do you have Indian acts which are exclusive to you, and if yes, what is your understanding with them?
Well, we have contracts. I mean, I started with contracts. When we started, I mean, Crunk was the first booking agency, so I was pretty much experimenting and seeing how things work here. We have around 8 acts, and the idea is to also grow out of India with these artists. So what we do is a couple of acts we are representing all over Asia, so that helps me build a bigger network and get out of India as well. So in that sense, the general model we follow here is 15%, and what we do is we do artist bookings, flights, logistics, and besides tour management, which is a separate thing.
I think it's worth pointing out, sorry Tom, I was just going to say that generally the bigger agencies, I mean my company is probably like in the B League or the C League or something, you know, but the big guys, they generally don't do any flight booking, hotels, production, they don't do any of that stuff. They always expect that either a manager or a tour manager will take care of that. Obviously, not many of the really big agencies handle DJs. We do a lot more DJs and electronic acts that don't have management, and in those cases, you know, we have to take care of itineraries and production, otherwise they don't get themselves to the gig, you know, they don't know where they're going and so on. So for us, if we want to get our commission and get paid, we want to probably be sure that they're going to get to the show, so it's in our interest to book those, yeah.
And if I had to run this by Dave as well, for you as a band, do you have a booking agency, and if not, do you see a value addition, at least in the Indian context right now?
In India, no, we don't have a booking agency. In India,
Any specific reason for that?
Well, in India, the concept never existed until a while back, and guys like Sohail came up.
When was that exactly? When? So are you one of the first booking agents? And is it just you, or is it an agency?
It's an agency that I started 2 years back.
Right.
Now we have, I think, three agencies.
3 agencies.
There's a Syndicate.
3 agencies. Okay.
Yeah, and then there is Mixtape. So before that, what used to happen here was there was one guy who used to manage the artist, manage his rehearsals, manage his bookings, handle his record label, and handle his bookings. So it was one man trying to do too many things, and what was happening was...
I still do that for them, and I play on stage so far. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's been the concept so far, and so what I realized was that it needed to be streamlined, and I mean, it's such an old model everywhere in the world, so... Yeah, and it was required. I mean, people want to be, like, there are some great artists who don't know how to go about booking themselves, you know. And